very interesting. I think you may know that we wrote an open letter to the Fed saying, wait a minute, how can the 12 of you unanimously agree on 75 basis points at, one right after the other when commodity prices are falling, inventory overhangs are crushing companies, and so you have upstream deflation. We believe downstream there will be deflation. There's no debate over this? Are you kidding? Do you know that in the early 80s, and I was fairly new to the business, Chairman Volcker was fighting a 15-year inflation problem. It started in 1964 with the Vietnam War and the Great Society. So 15 years, and people were used to inflation, so they were demanding it in wages and so forth. He took interest rates up twofold, 10% to 20%. This Fed has taken interest rates up roughly 16-fold in 9 months. Now, economics takes place at the margin, changes at the margin in all kinds of pricing, and interest rates are prices. Changes at the margin are incredibly impactful. And I think we will look back in history and say, wait a minute, a 16-fold increase in 9 months without stopping to see what's happening is crazy. It's crazy. And this is what will take inflation from up 8 to 10%, where we think it peaked, to negative. Well, if you look at trendline employment gains, I think we're 9% above the trend that was in place pre-COVID. In other words, a lot of companies, and tech companies included, hired many more people than they should have, given what was going to ultimately happen to demand. And the first place you see a recession is in advertising, and the advertising budgets have been slashed. That's why, to me, hearing people say we're not in a recession and seeing advertising budgets cut in half by some companies is quite astonishing. And it's hitting the tech sector because so much of tech has become social media. But other technologies, I think, that help drive efficiencies, so more enterprise SaaS, they're probably going to do a lot better. We receive a lot of criticism for holding Zoom. Many people say, that's a COVID stock. Well, Zoom basically gave its service away for free to consumers and to education, which was the right thing to do for a crisis period. Now they're all cycling out, and enterprises are cycling in. Enterprises, I believe, 55% of their revenues, and they're adding new features and functionality. This is the first rip and replace cycle in the enterprise communications space, which is the largest part of the tech stack. So it's $1.5 trillion a year. First rip and replace cycle since the early 90s. The early 90s, Cisco helped build the backbone of the internet. All of that was on-prem, hardware-centric. Now all of that is going into the cloud, and it was stimulated by COVID. These enterprises finally said, okay, we have a reason to make the change now. Two winners, Microsoft and Zoom. Robinhood, along with Coinbase and Block, the three of them we think are in the running for dominating, potentially, the digital wallet space or becoming an important component of it. Robinhood is very user-friendly, and it is now moving into the crypto age, which is what it was missing. We've watched that very carefully. There is a company in Israel called Fireblocks, and we were very happy to learn that Robinhood basically ended its strategy of building internally its own crypto platform from an infrastructure point of view and hired Fireblocks. Robinhood's core competency is the user interface, the convenience, ease of use, and so forth. So it could become either the digital wallet, more likely it will become a part of a digital wallet ecosystem, either alone, standalone, or in partnership with someone, or as part of someone else. Elon Musk is our Renaissance man. or our Thomas Edison, perhaps. And if you go back and look at how many projects these innovators were working on, you'd be astonished. How did they do that? There are such people out there. Elon surrounds himself with great business people and engineers who want to work for him. He is solving the most challenging problems of the day, and they want to be a part of that under his leadership. And, you know, remember, he started in the payments industry. So we could actually see Twitter, and now we just started a public-private crossover fund. Twitter is in that fund because we do believe that Twitter, Elon certainly believes in vertical integration. He has the payments experience. He and Jack Dorsey seem to get along very well, and were talking quite a bit, as we learned from the documents that came out over the court cases. And so I think even Twitter could make a run at digital wallet, not just for financial services, but for commerce. So that's one. And then you'll remember, I don't know if you remember, but do you remember Vine? Yes. Does that? My son, I thought he was going to make movies because he was on Vine constantly. That was a precursor to TikTok. And so there's some DNA within Twitter still, I believe, that could introduce something like that. You never know. And then one of my first experiences as an equity analyst was in newspapers. And believe it or not, they were the rising stars of that day. And this subscription advertising model is a very smart move if he goes in that direction. The verification, that little check, is very important to people and could help clean up the platform considerably. So if you look at the electric vehicle part of the business, it is on automatic pilot. They have got the manufacturing team in place. Elon says that Tesla is a manufacturer of factories. And of course, with Optimus, the humanoid robot, and all of the other automation that he's bringing into the ecosystem, I do think it's more, these are manufacturing-oriented decision makers, and he's in there if there's any artificial intelligence, especially with the robot side of the business. Where we need him to focus is autonomous. We think he is very diligently. He believes that he will have an autonomous taxi network perhaps next year. We believe it'll be in 2024. But the heavy lifting even there has been done. The kinds of breakthroughs we've seen in artificial intelligence over the last just even 6 months, breakthroughs that we didn't expect for 10 years have happened in 6 months. And I think it's making autonomous driving that much more possible. Again, the people who want a very hard project in the AI space are working at Tesla. This is the hardest project out there right now. And I think they have the best and the brightest.